My name is Clara. I'm the kind of person who shows up early, stays late when necessary, and always gives my best, even if my best sometimes feels like shouting into a void that doesn't care to listen. But let me start from the beginning because this story isn't just about me. It's about how far someone can be pushed before they push back. I worked at Titan Core Technologies for 6 years. 6 long, grueling years where every day felt like running on a treadmill set slightly too fast. Titan Core wasn't just any company. It was one of those tech giants everyone talks about, the ones with sleek glass buildings, endless free snacks in the break room, and an HR department so polished you'd think they were selling luxury cars instead of enforcing policies no one read. They made software, hardware, and all sorts of things I'd barely understood despite working there. What I did understand was deadlines. Deadlines ruled everything around me. And today was supposed to be different. It started like any other Friday afternoon. My desk was cluttered with sticky notes, half-empty coffee cups, and papers detailing our latest project, a launch code update for some massive corporate client. The stakes were high. $750 million hung in the balance. That's not hyperbole. That's what they told us during the morning meeting. $750 million. A number so big it almost sounded fake. But trust me, nobody laughed when the CEO said it. Not even once. The thing about Titan Core is that it prides itself on being innovative, cutting edge, revolutionary. All the buzzwords you see plastered across billboards or whispered by recruiters trying to sell you on their vision. But behind closed doors, it's chaos. Pure, unrelenting chaos. People don't sleep here. They survive. And survival means doing whatever it takes to meet impossible expectations, even if whatever it takes includes ignoring your own limits. By 5:45 p.m., I was exhausted, bone-tired. My brain felt like mush, and my body ached from sitting in the same chair for 12 hours straight. Still, I powered through because that's what we do. We endure. Except this time, something inside me snapped. At exactly 5:55 p.m., my boss, let's call him Mr. Harris because calling him anything else would give him too much credit, walked over to my desk. He didn't knock, didn't ask politely. He just stood there, arms crossed, looking down at me like I was a bug he wanted to squash. "Clara," he said, his voice sharp enough to cut glass, "you're staying late tonight." I blinked up at him, confusion washing over me. "Late? For what?" "For the launch," he replied as though it should have been obvious. "We need everyone here until at least 8, maybe later." My stomach dropped. Of course, they needed everyone. It was always everyone. Never mind that I'd already put in 60 hours this week. Never mind that my contract explicitly stated overtime was voluntary unless previously agreed upon. None of that mattered to people like Mr. Harris. To them, employees weren't humans with lives outside these walls. They were cogs in a machine, replaceable parts designed to keep spinning until they broke. "I can't stay," I said quietly, surprising myself more than anyone else. Mr. Harris raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me." I said I can't stay. I repeated louder this time. "I've already worked my 40 hours this week. If you wanted overtime, you should have scheduled it properly." His face darkened. "This isn't a negotiation, Clara. This is mandatory." "No, it's not," I shot back, standing now. My heart pounded in my chest, but I refused to back down. "You can't force me to stay. I know my rights." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Mr. Harris leaned in closer, his breath hot against my ear. "If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back." And just like that, I was fired for refusing to give them 5 extra hours of my life. 5 measly hours. As I gathered my things and walked toward the elevator, I could feel dozens of eyes boring into me. Some looked sympathetic, others judgmental, but none brave enough to say a word. Cowards, every last one of them. The ride down to the lobby felt interminable. Each ding of the elevator stopping on another floor only heightened the surreal quality of what had just happened. Was this real? Had I really thrown away 6 years of hard work over 5 lousy hours? By the time I stepped outside, the cool evening air hit me like a slap. Reality sank in fully then. I was unemployed. Again. But anger burned brighter than fear. How dare they treat me like disposable trash? How dare they act like I owed them my soul simply because I signed a piece of paper 6 years ago? I fumed silently as I unlocked my car and slid behind the wheel. My phone buzzed incessantly. Texts from coworkers asking if I was okay. Emails from HR confirming my termination. Delete. Block. Move on. Then, at precisely 6:09 p.m., inspiration struck. Or maybe vengeance did. Either way, I knew exactly what I had to do. Back home, adrenaline coursed through my veins as I booted up my laptop. Over the years, I'd learned more about Titan Core systems than anyone realized. Not because I was sneaky, but because curiosity got the better of me. I'd explored hidden corners of their network, uncovered vulnerabilities, and stored tidbits of information away for a rainy day. Well, guess what? It was pouring now. Logging in remotely took seconds. Accessing the server room cameras? Child's play. Watching Mr. Harris pace furiously while his team scrambled to fix whatever issues arose without me? Priceless. But I didn't stop there. No, revenge required finesse, precision, impact. Titan Core's upcoming launch code update was stored in a secure database, one I'd helped build. Back when I still believed in the company's mission, I'd poured my heart into making sure it was flawless. Now though, flawless wasn't going to cut it. With a few keystrokes, I planted a tiny snippet of code deep within the system, invisible to the naked eye, undetectable by standard scans, yet devastatingly effective when triggered. As I worked, memories flooded back, late nights spent debugging lines of code, early mornings answering panicked calls from clients, weekends sacrificed for projects that earned executives bonuses, while leaving the rest of us scraping by. All those sacrifices, all that loyalty, reduced to nothing in a single conversation. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. And damn it, they deserved this. By the time I finished, sweat dripped down my forehead and my hands trembled. But I'd done it. The code was in place, waiting patiently for its cue. Once activated, it would lock Titan Core out of their own system, halting the $750 million launch dead in its tracks. Let them try fixing that without me. Satisfied, I closed my laptop and leaned back in my chair. For the first time in years, I felt alive, empowered, like I'd finally taken control of my destiny instead of letting others dictate it for me. Sure, consequences loomed large. Hacking into your former employer's system was illegal, after all. But part of me didn't care. Part of me wanted them to feel the same panic, the same helplessness that I'd endured for far too long. The next morning brought a mix of emotions. Relief, mostly, but also anxiety. Would they trace the breach back to me? Could they prove it? Questions swirled endlessly, keeping me awake long past sunrise. Yet, amid the uncertainty, clarity emerged. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice, about holding powerful people accountable for treating ordinary workers like expendable assets. Over the following days, news spread quickly. Titan Core's launch delay made headlines worldwide. Analysts speculated wildly about technical glitches, insider sabotage, even cyberattacks from rival companies. Meanwhile, I watched silently from the sidelines, marveling at how easily the mighty could fall. Rumors circulated internally as well. Whispers of betrayal, accusations flying left and right. Nobody suspected me, though. Why would they? Clara, the quiet coder who kept her head down and followed orders? Impossible. Still, guilt gnawed at me occasionally. Not for what I'd done, but for the collateral damage. Innocent colleagues caught in the crossfire. Clients counting on Titan Core services. Even strangers whose lives might indirectly depend on that $750 million deal. Was I really any better than Mr. Harris, using others to achieve my goals? Despite these doubts, determination remained steadfast. If nothing else, I'd proven a point. Companies like Titan Core thrived on exploitation, thriving off the backs of underpaid, overworked employees too afraid to speak up. Someone had to challenge that status quo. Someone had to remind them that people aren't machines. Weeks passed, months even. Life moved forward, albeit cautiously. I found freelance gigs, piecing together enough income to get by. Friends checked in regularly, offering support and encouragement. Strangers reached out online, inspired by whispers of rebellion against corporate tyranny. Slowly but surely, I began rebuilding, not just my career, but my sense of self-worth. Yet questions lingered. What happened next? Did Titan Core recover from the setback? Did they learn anything from the experience, or simply double down on their toxic practices? Most importantly, would I ever truly escape the shadow of that fateful night? Only time would tell. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself in a strange limbo. On one hand, I was free from the suffocating grip of Titan Core and its endless demands. On the other hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that my actions had set something bigger into motion, something I wasn't entirely prepared for. The media frenzy around Titan Core's failed launch eventually died down, but not before sparking debates about corporate ethics, worker rights, and the fragile nature of trust within massive organizations. Analysts dissected every angle, speculating endlessly about who or what caused the catastrophic delay. Some blamed internal sabotage. Others pointed fingers at competitors. A few even suggested it might have been an act of rebellion by a disgruntled employee. But no one ever mentioned Clara, the quiet coder with nothing to lose. Still, I lived cautiously. Every email notification made me flinch. Every knock on the door sent my heart racing. Was this the moment they'd come for me? The authorities? Titan Core's lawyers? Or worse, their private security team? It was paranoia, sure, but given what I'd done, it didn't feel entirely unwarranted. What kept me going was the unexpected support I received. Friends rallied around me, offering words of encouragement and helping me find freelance work to keep me afloat financially. Strangers online reached out too, inspired by the rumors swirling around Titan Core's downfall. Some called me brave. Others saw me as a symbol of resistance against oppressive corporate culture. While I appreciated the sentiment, it also terrified me. If too many people started connecting the dots back to me, my carefully constructed anonymity could crumble. One evening, while scrolling through social media, I stumbled upon a thread discussing the incident. Someone had posted a screenshot of an old company memo detailing mandatory overtime policies, a policy I knew all too well. The comments section exploded with outrage. Employees from various industries shared their own stories of exploitation, burnout, and retaliation. What struck me most was how universal these experiences seemed. It wasn't just Titan Core. It was everywhere. People were angry, frustrated, and desperate for change. And somehow my small act of defiance had become a rallying cry. That realization hit me hard. Up until then, I'd thought of what I did as personal revenge, a way to make Titan Core pay for treating me like garbage. But now I saw it differently. Maybe it wasn't just about me after all. Maybe it was about sending a message, however reckless or misguided, that workers deserve better. That companies can't keep taking and taking without consequences. And yet there was still so much unresolved. Did Titan Core recover from the setback? Were they hunting for whoever planted the code? And if they were, how close were they to finding me? A month later, I got a call from an unknown number. My stomach dropped as I stared at the screen, debating whether to answer. Finally, curiosity, or maybe recklessness, got the better of me. "Hello," I said hesitantly. "Clara." The voice on the other end was familiar, though slightly distorted, as if the caller was trying to disguise it. "Yes? Who is this?" "It's Daniel," the voice replied. "From IT." My blood ran cold. Daniel had been one of the senior engineers at Titan Core, someone I occasionally collaborated with but never really knew personally. He was smart, meticulous, and always seemed to be 3 steps ahead of everyone else. If anyone could trace the breach back to me, it would be him. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral despite the panic bubbling inside me. "I think you know," he said quietly. "We need to talk." "About what?" I played dumb, though my heart was pounding so loudly I could barely hear his response. "Look, I'm not calling to turn you in," he said quickly, "but you left some loose ends. Things that point directly to you. If someone else finds them, you're screwed." I froze. Loose ends? I thought I'd covered my tracks perfectly. How careless had I been? "Why are you telling me this?" I asked finally. "Because I don't agree with what they did to you," Daniel admitted. "You weren't the first person they burned out, and you won't be the last. But what you did, it shook things up. Made people question whether they want to keep working like this. I don't want to see you throw that away because of a stupid mistake." His words caught me off guard. Not just his admission of solidarity, but the implication that my actions had resonated beyond what I'd imagined. Still, I couldn't let my guard down completely. So what do you suggest? I asked cautiously. We meet. Face to face. I'll explain everything, show you where the vulnerabilities are and help you fix them. No strings attached. Part of me wanted to say no, to hang up and disappear completely. But another part knew I couldn't ignore this. If Daniel was telling the truth, I needed his help. And if he wasn't, well, I'd deal with that when it came. Fine, I said reluctantly. Where and when? Meeting Daniel felt like stepping into enemy territory. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe downtown, far enough from Titan Corps' headquarters to avoid suspicion. When I arrived, he was already there, sipping coffee and staring intently at his laptop. For a moment, I considered turning around and leaving, but then he looked up and spotted me. You came, he said, almost surprised. Don't sound so shocked, I muttered, sliding into the seat across from him. You said you had information. He nodded, closing his laptop and leaning forward. I do. First, let me say, I'm sorry about what happened to you. Harris is a snake, and the way he treated you was unacceptable. Thanks, I said dryly, but I doubt you called me here just to apologize. No, I didn't. He pulled out a flash drive and slid it across the table. This contains everything you need to clean up your tracks. Logs, timestamps, IP addresses, all the stuff that could tie you to the breach. You'll need to delete them remotely, but I've included instructions. I stared at the flash drive, torn between gratitude and suspicion. Why are you doing this? Like I said, I don't agree with what they did to you. And honestly, I think what you did was brilliant. Risky as hell, but brilliant. You exposed a weakness in their system. Not just technically, but culturally. They can't keep treating people like machines forever. His words gave me pause. For the first time since the night I planted the code, I allowed myself to consider the broader implications of my actions. Maybe it hadn't been just about revenge after all. Maybe it was about making a statement, however chaotic and unplanned. But here's the thing, Daniel continued, his tone growing serious. They're looking for whoever did this. Hard. They've brought in external investigators, hired cybersecurity firms, the works. If you don't cover your tracks soon, they'll find you. I swallowed hard. How much time do I have? Not long. Days, maybe a week at most. Nodding slowly, I picked up the flash drive and slipped it into my pocket. Thanks. I mean it. Just promise me one thing, Daniel said as I stood to leave. When this blows over, use whatever platform you've gained to keep pushing for change. Don't let it end here. I hesitated, then nodded again. I will. Back home, I plugged the flash drive into my laptop and began following Daniel's instructions. Each step felt like walking a tightrope, balancing between erasing evidence of my involvement and ensuring the original message remained intact. By the time I finished, dawn was breaking outside my window. As I sat there watching the sunrise, exhaustion and adrenaline warring within me, I realized something. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Whatever happened next, whether Titan Corps recovered, whether they found another scapegoat, whether I managed to stay hidden, I had started something. Something bigger than me. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth it. In the weeks that followed, I disappeared from the tech world entirely. No LinkedIn updates, no job applications, just silence. I moved to a small town where nobody knew my name or cared about my past. Life became quieter, simpler. Freelance coding gigs paid the bills, and for the first time in years I felt like I could breathe. But the ripple effects of what I'd done kept surfacing. Former colleagues reached out, sharing stories of how Titan Corps had begun revising its policies. Mandatory overtime was scaled back, mental health resources were introduced, and whispers of unionization started spreading. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Then one day, an email arrived with the subject line, "Thank you." It wasn't signed, but the message inside was clear. Someone at Titan Corps had seen the cracks I exposed and decided to push for change from within. I stared at the screen for a long moment before closing my laptop. Revenge hadn't been the endgame. It was just the spark. The real fight would go on without me, carried by others who believed in fairness, justice, and humanity over profit margins. As I stepped outside into the crisp morning air, I smiled faintly. Whatever came next, I'd already left my mark. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough.